Hi, I'm Dave, founder of Halloween Around, and today I'm reviewing Final Destination Bloodlines, the sixth installment in a franchise that started out with a Twilight Zone spec script that has slowly turned into this insane series of movies where, much like CIA and KGB operatives, the writers try to think of the most creative and insane ways to kill people. Going into this, I'll admit I wasn't the biggest fan of the fourth or fifth installments. I think they kind of got progressively weaker as it went on. I was so pleasantly surprised with Bloodlines. I think it does a lot of things right that its two predecessors did wrong, and I think it might just be the best movie, well, since the original. Let's get into Final Destination Bloodlines.
Only by embracing death will it pass you by.
I'm gonna keep this spoiler free. I will probably get into a more like detailed spoiler video. I'm thinking about doing a ranking of all the movies. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that. So I'm only going to talk about things that the trailer in fact reveals. Which, if that's too spoilery for you, I'm sorry, but I got to talk about something. So right off the bat, what I love about Bloodlines is its goal is to kind of change up the formula and subvert your expectations. Everything from the opening disaster scene being an event that occurred decades in the past and we're dealing with the ramifications of it, but also that it's adding to the mythology without really contradicting anything. I feel like previous installments tried to add to the mythology. Final Destination 3 even tried to incorporate 9/11 into its mythology, which I don't know how I feel about.
Look, see the shadow?
Well, what do these pictures have to do with us?
Definitely don't know how I felt about it in 2006 when that movie came out, but I like how this one, everything kind of makes sense. And I will admit, I am a bit of a nitpick when it comes to a movie's own internal logic. And for every time I was like, "Wait a minute, how does this make sense?" Oh, the movie kind of answered and addressed it, and it makes sense. So we have this family, this extended family of, they're all descended from the same grandmother, who was part of this disaster that she survived, she prevented, and saved people from all the way back in the 60s. And the idea is death is now stalking that family, that bloodline, because none of them were ever meant to exist in the first place. Cool idea that we can even maybe draw conclusions from that while the movie doesn't directly connect to the other ones, except for one character who I'll get to, we can maybe make that inference that the people in all the other Final Destination movies were maybe somehow connected to this disaster event that occurred in the 60s, even though the movie itself doesn't directly say that. Now, what I liked about this movie is yes, the deaths are still insane, creative, over the top, borderline cartoonish. But you know what's not insane, over the top, and borderline cartoonish? Are the characters. I think that was one of my biggest pet peeves about especially 4 and 5 were that everyone just felt like a caricature, whereas here it's a family. They're all either siblings or cousins with each other, and there's a real sense of like these people could have grown up together, and even though they are so different, they genuinely love each other, even if they don't show it the right way all the time. And like they're genuinely looking out for each other and trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to prevent, all of us from dying? I loved how, and again, I saw this in a packed theater, and that's definitely the way you're going to want to see this movie. There was a scene, again, I'm not going to get into spoilers, where a certain character died, and the audience, including myself, literally cheered and clapped because we're like, that character so had it coming. And it's just insane to me that like people would be cheering that, and it's hilarious to me in a very dark way. And much like the later installments, Bloodlines keeps that very dark sense of humor, but I think it's balanced really well with characters that you actually care about, our protagonist Steffi is probably the most interesting character, and one that you feel the most invested in, maybe since Devon Sawa in the original, where you see kind of everything come together, and you see how her family goes from thinking she's insane to, as people start dropping like flies, they're like, maybe there's something to this. And that's I really like the way the movie kind of plays with your expectations, where it sort of, and this is something it's done before, where it sets this up, and then, well, no, this isn't what killed them, this is what kills them. But I thought here it was done in an interesting and unique way that was almost meta and almost self-aware. But unlike 4 and 5, Bloodlines felt more like satire than parody. And I know that those two terms can kind of be used interchangeably, but it's almost like Scream is satire, Scary Movie is outright parody. Previous 2 installments of this franchise felt like parody, Bloodlines felt like satire. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Tony Todd. This is his final performance, and it's really sad because you can see on screen he is very clearly sick. I know they shot this a few months before he passed away of stomach cancer, and you can tell just like from his look, he's extremely thin, and he's kind of, he's a bit hoarse, but he still has his charisma. He's still Tony Todd. And I heard that, behind the scenes, he really wanted to power through it and have this movie be like a bookend to his career. Because aside from Candyman, Final Destination is like his other big horror franchise that I think fans recognize him most from. The movie's dedicated to him, and rightfully so. He was such an iconic part and such like a through line through all the movies. He's a character that basically appeared in every single one, except for one, and I know he's only a voice cameo in 3, but he felt like that recurring character that kept the continuity going, and he is what ties Bloodlines continuity back to the other movies, again, in a really interesting way, and we learn more about his character than we've ever known before in those other movies. So, overall, Final Destination Bloodlines, you know what you're getting. You're coming in to see absurd, insane, over the top, borderline cartoonish kills that make you genuinely question who thinks up this stuff, and that on your drive home gives you anxiety with everywhere you look and turn. What if this could kill me? What if this could kill me? What if this could kill me? It's basically a movie written by anxiety itself. No, not the one from Inside Out, the one that needs to be medicated. So I really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of Final Destination Bloodlines? What are some of your favorite kills from it? Do you hope to see the franchise continue in some way, shape, or form? Because I guarantee you, if this one makes money, it will. Like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. If you don't, you may end up being stalked by death. Although, isn't like everyone like eventually? And as always, every day is Halloween.